In May 1940, Hitler's army had just conquered France. 230,000 British soldiers were trapped on a beach in Dunkirk. The United States was neutral. The Soviet Union had a peace pact with Germany, and Britain's own war cabinet was quietly discussing whether to negotiate a peace settlement with Adolf Hitler. The Prime Minister had been in office for 11 days. His name was Winston Churchill. And what he did in those 11 days changed the course of human history. Churchill was born in 1874 in Blenheim Palace to an aristocratic father who thought he was stupid. His school reports were dismal. His father wrote letters saying he would amount to nothing. He failed the entrance exam to Sandhurst Military Academy twice before passing on the third attempt. He began his career as a military correspondent, covering wars in Cuba, India, Sudan, and South Africa. He was captured by Boers in South Africa and escaped dramatically, making himself famous overnight. He was 25 years old. He entered Parliament at 26. Over the next 4 decades, he held almost every major cabinet position in British government. He served with brilliance and colossal misjudgment in equal measure. He was First Lord of the Admiralty during the disastrous Gallipoli campaign, which got him forced out of government. He was accused of being a warmonger, an eccentric, an imperialist, a drunk. In the 1930s, while every major political figure in Britain was either appeasing Hitler or pretending he was manageable, Churchill spent years warning anyone who would listen. Almost no one did. He was considered a relic, an alarmist, a man whose judgment had already failed the nation once. Then Poland fell, then France fell, and suddenly the alarmist was the only man left standing who had seen it coming. On May 13, 1940, 3 days after becoming Prime Minister, he gave his first speech to the House of Commons. "I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears and sweat. We have before us an ordeal of the most grievous kind. We have before us many, many long months of struggle and of suffering." The House erupted, but it was in the War Cabinet that the real battle was fought. Lord Halifax, the Foreign Secretary, believed negotiation with Germany was the only rational option. He had support. He was not wrong that the odds were terrible. On May 28th, Churchill gathered not just the Cabinet, but the full outer Cabinet, the 25 ministers who weren't privy to war decisions. He told them the situation plainly. He said he had thought carefully about whether to negotiate, and then he said, "I am convinced that every man of you would rise up and tear me down from my place if I were for one moment to contemplate parley or surrender." The room erupted again. Ministers who barely knew each other grabbed his shoulders, cheered, thumped him on the back. Halifax's plan died in that room. Churchill delivered 3 speeches in May and June of 1940 that historians consider among the greatest acts of rhetoric in the English language. "We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender." He wasn't just inspiring people, he was restructuring their reality. He was telling them that defeat was not a category that applied to them, that the story wasn't over, that it hadn't even properly begun. He was also working around the clock, personally editing intelligence reports, drafting messages to Roosevelt, visiting bomb-damaged cities, dictating memos at midnight from his bathtub. He slept in his clothes. He ate while walking. He kept a list of decisions he needed to make before bed, so he could sleep without worrying about forgetting them. He had a word for people who did not execute his decisions fast enough. He called them ungen, as in, this has not been done yet. He drank heavily. He was moody, imperious, often wrong. He made decisions that got people killed. His colonial policies were brutal. He was not a simple hero, but he saved liberal democracy, almost certainly. The United States would not have entered the war the way it did without a Britain that was still fighting. The Soviet Union may have negotiated separately. The world that emerged on the other side of 1945 was shaped more by Churchill's refusal to quit than by any other single decision. He lost the election in July 1945. The British public voted him out while the war in the Pacific was still ongoing. He learned of his defeat at the Potsdam Conference. He returned to power in 1951 and served until 1955. He wrote a 6-volume history of the Second World War that won him the Nobel Prize in Literature. He painted. He bred racehorses. He laid bricks. He was 89 when he died. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. He had failed. He had been humiliated. He had been wrong in public repeatedly about important things. And none of it killed him. He kept going until the moment history needed him, and he was there. We shall not fail or falter. We shall not weaken or tire. Neither the sudden shock of battle nor the long-drawn trials of vigilance and exertion will wear us down. Give us the tools, and we will finish the job. There is a version of Churchill's story that is comfortable. The great man, always right, always strong, always rising. That story is false and boring. The real story is better. A man who failed repeatedly, was dismissed as a relic, spent decades in the wilderness of his own irrelevance, and was still there, standing ready, undefeated in his mind, when the world needed someone who refused to quit. That's not just a history lesson. That's a blueprint.